Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So happy to be here with you in this special with Marywood University. You know that our specials with Marywood inside of our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership are called Pacer Pride because that's what it's all about. And in this special edition of Pacer Pride, we are here with Rob Ahrens, who is the head coach of the men's and women's cross country and track and field teams. If he was a doctor, he would have like 18 letters after his name. That's how I look at this. So men's and
Long
women's
title, yeah.
yes, men's and women's cross country and track and field, or as Marywood puts it on social media, at Marywood XCTF, which makes it very simple. So yet again, we are here for another championship. It keeps happening. Keep pouring it on. Bill Belichick, step aside, sir, as we have the three-peats in track and field for Atlantic East champions. And we have a lot to discuss today. So congratulations over and over and over again as three-peats to Rob Ahrens, our special guest in a signature spotlight here on Pacer Pride, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Mr. Ahrens, how are we?
I'm doing really well, a little bit tired. The weather, is a lot better this week than last week. We suffered through some pretty miserable conditions over the weekend. And then of course, the next day it's beautiful. So, but yeah, we're definitely here later in the week, recovering a little bit. And yeah, it's exciting.
I am super proud of all the student athletes. It has been such an amazing really just getting to know you, getting to know your story, your background, your why, and, sitting in the office and being able to converse with you, and then witnessing a championship when we're going through the cross country season, and now witnessing a championship here for track and field. Every single season, you win championships in the Atlantic East. The only season that it hasn't happened here since you've stepped into Marywood was when you didn't compete during a pandemic because there was no competition. So nobody has ever defeated you. The pandemic stalled you. That's it. So
there you go. I like the way you put that. Yeah.
So what can you say about just why this? I mean, it's one thing to build success. It's another thing to sustain it. Why are cross country and track and field just perennial contenders at the top of the Atlantic East? I mean, you're not only making a name for yourself in the conference, you are making a national name for Marywood University. And that is that's no small task. And it's nothing that we can understate.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly hard to put your finger on one specific thing. I mean, I think one thing that I can point out just from this year is we just have really strong leadership in our team. We have a strong group of seniors I mean, you mentioned COVID. That's kind of put some weird things in place in terms of eligibility and things like that. So we have some, people on the team that this is even their fifth or sixth year at Marywood, but that group that's kind of, this was their last year, has been just outstanding in terms of leading the charge for us and having, I guess, setting the tone, and especially with, we had a very large class of first year students on the team this year. So to have that big group of people who have been there before and knew, know what to expect and things like that was really huge for us. And for me, with this being my fourth year at Marywood as well, the majority of those student athletes that are moving on, it was their first year when it was my first year, so it's been a really fun group to be able to interact with and kind of build those relationships over the years. And by their fourth year here in the program, they understand what we're about, what's important, what we emphasize, what's important, to us as coaches, and just the impact and the influence of that. So I think for this year, that's one thing that I think I noticed specifically that really just helped us and helped me immensely, throughout the season.
How are you dealing with the emotion and the reality that, like you said, the student athletes that came in your first year at Marywood are now finishing up? How I mean, they've been with you the whole ride. So are you how are you dealing with that right now?
Yeah, yeah, that's been hard. I gotta be honest. We did so the night before the championship, we did our kind of end of the season wrap up dinner. And at that, every year we always let our seniors just kind of share some stories and words of advice and things like that. And it's always an emotional time, but for this year in particular, it was really hard for me to keep dry eyes. It was yeah, they really shared some things that were really meaningful and meant a lot to me and to their teammates and fellow seniors. And that was really cool. And they joked around with me about how they're graduating and I'm graduating with them. I've no plans to go anywhere, but it's cool to kind of to go through that journey with them and things like that. So yeah, it's been it's definitely been special this year.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, did they, when they said, you're graduating with us, is there this notion and this hope from them that they can kind of make you Mr. Feeney and essentially take you wherever they go?
I don't know. I think I think some of them are definitely ready to move on. Definitely are appreciate the time that they had here, but are excited, for the future and for the next years of their lives. And I definitely one of the most important people in my life was my college coach. He's someone that I still keep in touch with, and I really hope that that's the same with this group, that we'll be we'll be in touch in the years ahead. And if they ever need coaching for anything else in the future, if they want to get out there, it's interesting. That running is a sport that you can continue to compete in. And a lot of track athletes, even if they're not like long distance runners, end up doing some longer races like half marathons or marathons and stuff like that. So I would be honored to be able to give them some coaching and training, getting them ready for something like that. That'd be pretty cool. So
Well, that's the thing with, what you have across country and track and field is, are there hopes from some of your student athletes to try out for the Olympics, to put themselves out there and to be a part of that? I mean, that's something that I've seen firsthand from, people that I've been around is, they finished up their time and then they went after it. Is there any notion of that or potential for that?
So yeah, I mean, we actually, one of our student athletes who graduated in 2021, David Haynes, he was one of the most decorated track athletes that Marywood has ever had. He was a two-time national qualifier in cross country as well. He's been continuing to run, and I've been continuing to work with him. He just about a month ago ran a little under 107 for a half marathon. And one of his goals, in the years ahead, would be to make the marathon Olympic trials. And I think that's something that's realistic. He's very, still very motivated and training really hard. So so I think that's that's definitely a possibility, and we'll see. He hasn't done a marathon yet, so we're kind of working our way up to that, but I think that's definitely a realistic goal for him. So we'll see. Stay tuned.
Hanging out here with Rob Ahrens in this special edition of Pacer Pride, spotlighting the three-peat Atlantic East champions in track and field for the men's and women's side of things, as this is a portion of what Rob Ahrens is the head coach of at Marywood University. When we look at Division 1, 2, and 3 in Marywood being D3, when we talk about these Olympic sports and the opportunity, like you said, of some of your student athletes to move forward and to try and qualify for this, what is the world like for cross country and track and field when it comes to the Olympics and it comes to representing the country and whatnot? Are the lines blurred, D1, 2, and 3, when it comes down to it? How do you view that? Because every sport is different, And, you know, the NFL does a great job. NCAA Division 1, 2, and 3, they'll find people, right? They'll go anywhere. Jerry Rice is D3. So when it comes cross country and track and field, are there blurred lines, and does it really matter what division you came from when it comes down to your ability to, you know, be successful in track and field as well as cross country when it comes to qualifying for something like that?
So yeah, I mean, certainly, you know, at the Division 1 level, the athletes that are, you know, qualifying for the national championships in Division 1, you know, that meet the NCAA national championship meet is almost as competitive as the U.S. Olympic trials. It's like right there. So certainly, you know, that level is very elite. That being said, you know, the Division 3, especially this year, and especially, you know, in recent history, has done a really good job of producing some really high caliber athletes, and that can, you know, compete at that level. There have been certainly athletes from Division 3 that have gone on to win, you know, Olympic medals, world championship medals, and compete, you know, at the highest level. So yeah, so there's certainly that opportunity. And I guess that's one of the great things about our sport is, you know, you step onto the track or into the throwing circle, and it doesn't matter, you know, what division you're competing at, it's a level playing field. So yeah, so it's cool.
And yeah, and that's what I really wanted to get to, because Marywood, I never say Marywood, the NCAA Division 3 school. I say Marywood University, the Pacers. You know, there's a lot to be said about what has happened, even this season alone. In the spring, we look at the success in track and field. We look at baseball. We look at softball. There's a lot of things to be happy about. There's been strong moments and positive moments to build off of in women's lacrosse and men's lacrosse. And, you know, obviously we know what Julie Trott has done with field hockey. We know what Enrico Mastriani has done to bring men's basketball at Marywood to heights that they didn't even come close to touching in their history. We know that, you know, Jen Carlton took a team that had, I think, only 9 players on the roster and won a bunch of games and did a lot of things that people didn't anticipate. You know, there's so much to be said. Andrew Smith, with what he's done with Marywood men's soccer historically, you know, there's a lot of beauty in that. And there's hopes with the new coaches coming in and different things that are happening there. I mean, and Dana Sicati, my goodness, with women's tennis at Marywood. So, you know, I don't see D3. I just see I'm spoiled. You know, we signed this exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. And from the day that I signed on with my alma mater to represent you all, I feel like all I've seen is success. And, you know, I got to meet you and it was like, yeah, here's a championship. And then a few months later, here's another one. So, you know, I mean, I would say that in the era of my company, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and Marywood University working together, we've only known success. So, you know, and no pressure, but we have to keep it going, Rob. It's on you guys now.
Yeah, it sounds, I mean, are you trying to take a little bit of credit for that, or say, you know, ever since you got here, things have been going well? I don't know.
I'm saying I don't know what it is, but, you know, I walked through the door. I don't take any credit. All I'm saying is God is great. You know, you
Yeah,
guys
there
do
you go.
all the work. I walk in the door, and that's all. I mean, I got, all I'm saying is the high schools here in New York, of the 5 state championships, 3 of them were won by coaches that I know and teams that I was around. And then I'm seeing a lot of success with Marywood. So all I'm saying is, I think that when good people are around each other and working together, great things can happen. So I take no credit for anything you've done. I just want to thank God that when I came to the table thinking maybe there'll be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, there was like a giant 8-course meal. And that's all on you guys. I've done
Yeah.
nothing but interview you. So no, I don't have an ego, Rob Ahrens, but if you want to give me one of your trophies, I'm not going to be mad at you for it.
Well, it's good. We've given you plenty to talk about too, because that's, you know, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I would talk to you guys no matter what, but you have, well, what I'm getting at in this long-winded thing is I feel spoiled. I feel thankful. It's twofold. I mean, because it's my job to get the stories out there, but at the same time, this is my alma mater. So I take it personally with everything that we get to do together. And I take it personally because I walked through, you know, those same doors and was within those same classrooms. So, you know, you have all been incredible, and you've given me so much to be excited about that it's like you win a championship, and then John Butash in softball turns around and wins a championship. And I'm like, it's, and when, like I said, Dana before that, it's just like, it was like boom, boom, boom. All these things are happening. And I could not be prouder of Marywood University. So thank you for spoiling me.
Absolutely. We're happy to do it.
So what is it about? I know you're a humble person, and I'm going to ask you to talk about yourself for a second here. What is it that you think has bred success? And I know you're going to say the student athletes, but you're the one that recruits them. You're the one that goes out and looks for the talent. You're the one that looks for the people that are going to go to class, that have good morals and values, that have personal responsibility, and that they're talented. You're going to go after the people that you believe are coachable. So what I'm really asking you is, how do you look at a sea full of talent and navigate through that to find the ones that you really know are going to do it? Because I mean, I know some of it, people say luck goes into it, but when you're winning championship after championship, you have the ability to see through walls with a lot of this stuff. And I want to know how you do it.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I would say probably two of the main characteristics that I think are really important, or that I've seen have been really connected to someone realizing their potential, right? Because everybody has a certain level of potential, and for some people that might be higher than others, but our goal is to try to get everybody to get as close as possible to their potential. So the first thing, I think one of the most important things is just consistency. Being putting the time in every day to improve at your discipline. With all the different events that we have in track and field, it looks very different for each event group, but kind of doing something a little bit every day, kind of building brick upon brick, day after day. Those improvements add up, and especially over a 4-year career. Just again, going back to the group that we have this year, to see where some of them were 4 years ago versus where they are now, is totally different. So I think that's the biggest, like one of the biggest things is just they show up every day and they do something to get better. And then I think the other thing that I really look for, and I guess looking at that idea of recruiting, is we're looking for student athletes that are just really passionate about the sport. It is very challenging, to be a track and field athlete. With we have an indoor and an outdoor season, so we're starting practice late October, early November usually, and we just finished up. So in fact, we have some student athletes that are still going, competing at a regional championship meet next week. So you're talking 6-7 months. They're in season, and then for those that are running cross country as well, that starts up in August. So they're pretty much, 9-10 months of the year they're going, So it's important to have people that eat, sleep, and breathe the sport, that just are, you'd have to tie them down to keep them away from practice, things like that. I mean, that's, especially, and that's one of the things that I think really separates or makes the Division III model really special, is it really attracts those type of people, because they're not doing it for a scholarship or for the gear, all that kind of stuff. It's or for the special treatment or the status. They're doing it because they really love it. They want to pursue their academic goals and their careers. That's what's most important to them. But they don't want to stop doing track. They want to keep competing and keep getting better, and see how high they can get before their career's over. So that's I think is the second characteristic that is really, really important, that we look for and try to identify in the student athletes that we're bringing in.
When you look at this season's track and field, speaking here with Rob Ahrens, the men's and women's cross country and track and field head coach at Marywood University, in the spotlight special here in this edition of Pacer Pride, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, looking at this season, what were some of your favorite moments for track and field en route to where you currently are right now as Atlantic East champions again? So what were some of those favorite moments? And if there's a moment or two that surprised you, but in a good way.
All right. Okay. So, let me think here. So I would say one of my favorite moments was, so we had a student athlete join us from the swim team this year. His name was Jason Lee, and came into my office. He knew a few of the people on the track team, and I knew him from he's one of actually the leaders in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes group that we have on campus, and I've worked with him in that group. And so he had some questions about track, was interested in joining track. And so we talked about him joining after the swim season, which was a little bit late in the season because we had already been practicing for a little while. But he was able to come out for the team. It kind of took us a little while to identify where he was going to be able to contribute, and what were like his best events would be, and so we kind of settled on the sprinting events for him. And I just remember the first meet where it kind of clicked for him, where it really, he looked like a runner, he looked like a sprinter, and he was so excited to get the time drops that he achieved that day. And he's that kind of an attitude or an energy is just infectious, so that was really, really cool. And I wasn't the only one that noticed it. Pretty much everybody on the team commented on it or pointed it out, to me or to him. And so that was, that was really, really cool. That was definitely one of the highlights of the year. And then, in terms of surprises, I would say one thing just from this weekend that I was definitely pleasantly surprised with. So, you go into a meet and we have, 50 individuals competing in their different events. And a championship meet, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of pressure. And not everybody's going to have a good day. Not everybody's going to run their best time or, have their best jumps or things like that. It's just not possible for all 50 to nail it like that. So but what I was really impressed or really pleasantly surprised and really appreciated was those student athletes that didn't have their best day this weekend. They did a really good job of turning around and offering their support to their teammates, not letting it get them down. Of course, it's their disappointment and to kind of show some disappointment, and that's natural. That's good. I mean, to be competitive, you want to be disappointed. You want to see them disappointed if they're not, doing what they know they can do. But then to translate that and move past that and look for ways they can contribute to the team, either whether that be in their next race or by supporting their teammates in their races or in their events. We had one of our student athletes twisted her ankle really bad in the pole vault and she wasn't able to continue with the rest of the meet. But she was really supportive of everybody else, and had a good attitude, even though she missed out on some accolades and some medals and things like that she would have been able to achieve if she hadn't been hurt. So it was so stuff like that. It was just it's not common. That's not the way most people react to those things. It's I think your first reaction is to kind of feel sorry for yourself or just like I said, be disappointed, but they were able to turn that around a little bit and just contribute positively to the team, which is really great.
And when you see somebody not have their best personal, right? Because we can get really about us, and in these events, it can feel as much as you're part of a team, and it can feel very individualistic. So when you see somebody, just kind of, I mean, it's it's them in the event, right? It's them and what's going on. It feels so much I can imagine, once they train and get everything ready, they're by themselves. When they can pull themselves away from it and say, okay, you know what? I wanted to do better. I wanted more out of myself. However, I'm going to walk over here and I'm going to watch my teammate and I'm going to cheer him on, and I'm going to let them know, like, I didn't have my best moment, but if you have yours, we're going to get there, because as a team, we're going to win this championship. And maybe I feel like I only got this far, but I know that you can take us here. Just how we can take a very individualistic sport and sports within this track and field world and turn it into something that really does become a team, which is a very unique sport in and of itself. It's a unique way to look at things, because it's not your typical way that a sport will go.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, I mean, that's something that's so important to me, and is really something that we stress, throughout the year, at all the meets that we go to, that you are taking the time to support your teammates, to look out for somebody other than yourself. So to see that happen, and in that stressful environment, where emotions are high, it's great. It's great to see. So, yeah.
For you, Rob, what continues to challenge you? I mean, listen, you're young. Share whatever. How old are you?
I'm 34.
Okay, so you're 34. So I'm 36. So we're around the same age. So you're 34 years old. You've won since the day you've walked into Marywood University. I mean, what about this keeps you hungry and just desiring? Because some people, right, they win championships over and over again, and maybe they kind of become numb to it. And I don't know if necessarily, I mean, I guess some people may and some people may not. Everybody's different. But how do you stay hungry? Like, how do you balance? And I hope that you do this because you deserve it. How do you celebrate the championships and then at the same time stay hungry for the next one? How do you do it?
Yeah, that is tough, because I do feel like that is something that I probably could do better at. I think I sometimes don't take as much time to really appreciate, what we put so much hard work into, and really savor it. It's kind of, I'm very much kind of looking forward to the next thing, whether that be, like I said, we've got some athletes competing at the regional meet next week. So we're kind of, looking forward to that and seeing where, what we can do there, or looking into the next season, with the 3 different seasons in cross country, indoor and outdoor track. It can be very easy to just like, okay, now it's cross country mode, we're switching gears here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, one very simple thing is, we have, when we brought those banners back, one of the traditions that we started from the first one is we have all of the student athletes sign it.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see. I was looking at those Monday or Tuesday, I forget what day it was, but just kind of looking at, all the names on there, and all of the hard work and, personalities behind each of the names on there. And that's really, it just kind of helps to put some things in perspective, and also realize the team aspect of it, and how much it's not just one person, but it's, everyone contributing, in their own ways. So
Reaching
yeah.
beyond the Atlantic East, and like you talked about regionals and whatnot, where is Marywood, in your opinion, when it comes to cross country and track and field? Truly, where do you think Marywood stands in the national lights? And do you think that this is a university that is putting together the teams and the individuals within those teams that you believe could vie for national championships?
So yeah, I mean, I guess that could be another, I guess, partial answer to your previous question too. I think looking beyond the Atlantic East is really where a lot of our efforts are placed as well. We have a strong contingent that is has qualified for this All Atlantic Region Track and Field Conference. That's the we like long names, that's a really long name. So, but AARTFC meet that we're going to next week. We have a few other athletes that are competing on Monday to try to see if we can get a couple more qualified for that. So, so we're looking to kind of build out the numbers of student athletes that are qualifying for those type of meets and add some depth in that level. And then, so there has never been a national qualifier, either indoor or outdoor, in Marywood track and field yet. So that is a huge goal for us. We have some young talent. I mean, I mentioned we have a big class of seniors this year, but the group of student athletes that are in their, either first or second years with us is really talented, and we've got a couple more, 2 or 3 more years with them. So we'll see. I think that's on the horizon, and we're kind of right there knocking on the door. It's just going to take, the right circumstances. I mean, the qualifying for Division III is getting tougher and tougher. For nationals, they only take, the top 22 athletes in each event in the entire nation. So, you got to really be at the top of your event to have a chance. So so I think we have some individuals that definitely have that potential, and we'll see what we can do over the next couple of years.
Do you get a sense that Marywood is getting national recognition?
To be honest with you, I don't think that we're there yet. I think that's something that is still kind of on the horizon, but I think people definitely are taking notice. Actually, one of our student athletes told me at practice today that we got mentioned on a podcast called D3 Glory Days that kind of talks about different things that are happening in Division III. So so that's pretty cool. They were just talking about the three-peat and things like that, and that's I guess there is, some people are starting to take notice. We're starting to turn some heads, but I think we still have a ways to go in really being a presence on the national stage. So
We take a look at what happened here in this three-peat as Atlantic East champions. To give you all some context here, Marywood University swept the Atlantic East Conference men's and women's track and field championships for the 3rd consecutive time, and it was held at Immaculata University. The Pacers took first place in 23 total events. Marywood finished with 287 total points in the women's standings. The closest to them, Marymount, with 127 points. In the men's race, Marywood had 284 points to Marymount's 142. Marywood swept both the Field Athlete of the Year. When we look at Kristen Persico repeated as Women's Field Athlete of the Year, and Ryan Matthews as Men's Field Athlete of the Year. And the Pacers also swept the Elite 20 awards for the top individual grade point average among the top 2 teams as well. So of all of those accolades and anything that you would like to add, I mean, 23 events, closest team to you on the women's side, less than halfway there. Men's side, less than halfway there. You didn't just win, you won repeatedly. I mean, it's hard to wrap here. 23 events, and nobody is even halfway to where Marywood was at. I mean, you're running away with this thing literally and figuratively, and it's not even close.
Yeah. So, I mean, I one of the things that I think I talked about with a lot of the student athletes that were at the at the top levels and in contention for winning some of the events and things like that is, obviously going into that kind of a meet as a coach, you kind of look and see where athletes are seated and kind of what the projected scores would be. And so I had a pretty good idea of where we stood, but there's some outstanding and phenomenal individuals in our conference this year. And a lot of them lined up really well with our outstanding individuals. So there was a lot of really good battles there for some of those event wins, and some of them we won and some of them we didn't, but it really had made for a good atmosphere and in really pushing all of our student athletes to have that level of competition that they couldn't just, show up and kind of go through the motions, but they had to be ready to go and be at the top of their game. I'll mention George Thompson, one of our hurdlers and sprinters. He missed out on the track athlete of the meet award by a half of a point. And he was second place in the 110 hurdles by 2/1000ths of a second, so 0.002 seconds. I mean, I can't even, like, it's faster than that, and if he would have, if it would have been, I guess, 3/1000ths of a second the other way, and he would have won that race, he would have been the track athlete of the year. So yeah, there's there's still those things that we were chasing and looking to push each other and, push themselves in those ways, which made for a really fun meet and great atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this right now. 100-meter dash, Marywood. This is what Marywood won here and for the Atlantic East here in the postseason. So we have the 100-meter dash, we have the 800-meter run, we have the 1500-meter run, the 5000-meter run, the 10,000-meter run. All Marywood victories, 3,000-meter steeplechase, as well as the 4x100-meter relay, the 4x400-meter relay. This is all on the women's side of things for women's track and field. The high jump, as well as the pole vaults, shot put, discus throw, javelin throw, all Marywood on the women's side of things, finishing first. And on the men's side of things, just to give credit where credit is due, throughout here on the men's side of men's track and field, we saw the victories from Marywood in the 100-meter dash, the 5,000-meter run, the 10,000-meter run, as well as the 3,000-meter steeplechase. And we saw the 4x100-meter relay, the 4x400-meter relay, as well as the pole vault. And I'm looking through here, the hammer throw, the javelin throw, all going to Marywood University. Those being victories in men's track and field. I mean, it's insane. I mean, it's got to be so. I mean, if I were you, I would be a kid in a candy store. I would be happy to have one of these. I would be happy to be like, yeah, we got the javelin, we did the pole vault. I mean, I would be shot put, whatever it is. We got this meter relay, we got that. I would be happy to rack up a few of these things and say, wow, we got some studs here on the men's and women's team. But 23 events and it's Marywood. You know what I mean? It's like, and if it's not first, then you're right there. And like you said, how close, tenths, hundreds of thousands of a percent, like right there. It's Marywood all day. I read the top finishes, but Marywood was right behind in a bunch of the other ones. You got to be just in your glory. And are there 10 of you? Have you figured out a way to divide up your body so that you can kind of go and watch everything at the same time? Because you got a lot of things to celebrate.
No, yeah, I mean, that's definitely where our assistant coaches are huge, in spreading out. I mean, at any point, in a meet, there could be, 2 or even 3 different, jumps going on at a time, and 1 or 2 different throws plus stuff going on the track. So we really need, good quality assistants that are also good at kind of bouncing around and helping out and being able to coach their event groups to their success. So that's really cool. But I guess it kind of made me think a little bit, just as you were saying, just even beyond the first places and things like that. I think that is one of the strengths of our team is depth. We have, if we're not going to win in an event, most likely we're going to be in the majority of the events, we're going to have at least a couple of individuals that are going to be scoring points in those events and picking up some points here and there. And so, for some of our athletes, we'll approach this conference meet, more strategically, and maybe put them in some events that they don't normally do, or ask them, to be able to run with a teammate or help out a teammate in a certain way to be able to help them score points, in addition to themselves scoring points. And then that helps the team, by by just upping our overall total. We in some of the distance races we did that because there was some of the athletes more in like the fifth, sixth, in those fifth and sixth place battles had some really good competition, whereas maybe some of our runners in the 2-3 spots, there wasn't really a lot of competition for them, so they were able to kind of run with their teammates and try to help them along to be able to get their victories and score points for the team, and just overall that contributes to our higher team score than everybody just kind of going out there and running for themselves. So that was another really cool thing to see, kind of some of the team tactics and strategy and the ways that they were able to help each other out and pull each other along to all for the good of the team. So that's really cool.
Do you feel like your student athletes, like, are you a proud dad in the sense of the fact that, do you feel like you can almost see them coach each other up at times where they're an extension of you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, especially in some of those events where, like I said, where there, or during some of those times in the meet when there are multiple different events going on, and we just don't have, we just can't have a coach in every single place at all times, and preparing, everybody for the events that are coming up and things like that. So having teammates to be able to help, help each other, again, especially those group of athletes that have been here for 3-4 years, they know everything that they need to be doing, and they know to be able to watch out for the other people who are doing the same events as them, and things like that. So yeah, that definitely makes our lives a lot easier, and again, just contributes to the overall success of the team.
Rob Ahrens here with us in this Pacer Pride special. Before we close here, honoring a three-peat for men's and women's track and field, both just an incredible achievement. And obviously, Rob, as the men's and women's cross country and track and field head coach, I want to give a shout out, as you were mentioning here, you give it to your staff. We've talked about your staff before, Kevin, Dejan, as well as Carl, Lauren, and Frank. I mean, do you feel spoiled when you think about your staff?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've definitely asked a lot of them this year. I've actually had some kind of health problems, physical things kind of going on, so I haven't been able to be everywhere that I normally am, and they've really stepped up and supported.
Are you okay, are you doing okay?
Yeah. No, everything's good. So just had to kind of take a step back and take it easy a little bit here and there, but no, they've kind of really stepped up and filled in, and obviously the results speak for themselves. So it's really thankful for them. They've worked extra hard this year.
Are you in a place where how much recruiting do you feel like you have to go out and find, and how much of it is coming to you? And are you at a point with cross country and track and field where you have to turn people away?
No, I don't think that we're at that point yet. I think, especially given the Division III model, and given kind of some of the things I've already said, if we have a student athlete that's really passionate about the sport and wants to continue to compete, I want to try to find a way to give them those opportunities. It obviously, there's limitations in terms of budgets or event space in events at meets and things like that, but I would never want to turn someone away from an opportunity to pursue what they're passionate about. I think as long as they're fitting in with our philosophy and buying into what's important to us, and share those similar values and have demonstrated that consistency and that passion for the sport, I think there's definitely a place for them here. I think a lot of the reason why a lot of student athletes are interested in Marywood is the awesome academic programs that they have, and the community that's there, and I think just what they find in in just the welcoming spirit that they find there. And I think that's something that we as a team try to really demonstrate as well, and show just, you know, how much that we care for each other and look out for each other. And I think when prospective student athletes are and their parents, you know, are considering a place to go, those things really stand out and can make a big difference. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's incredible. And you said, you know, with the D3 model, and if somebody comes in, you don't want to turn them away. If they're interested, you want to, you know, get them out there and get them to. I love that you want to get them to try it. And if they're good at something, you might have them go try something else and see if they can help the team in another place. In the spirit of that, I do want to let you know that there's two things I would like to do. So if you could find a spot for me in these two areas, I would appreciate it. I've always wanted to jam. Well, I shouldn't say always, since I've known of it. I've wanted to, and, you know, just kind of like watched it and been mesmerized by it. I would like to learn how to do a proper javelin throw. And I also would like to pole vault. So if you can find, you know, you said you're all about finding people that want to do it. Well, if we can successfully get one of those two things, I'll be a happy camper. And, you know, maybe I will be your next challenge, Rob, since the challenges that have been in front of you and the coaching staff, you've knocked them all down. So if anybody's going to teach me how to javelin throw and pole vault, I'm going to trust Marywood University and all of you.
Well, you definitely picked two of the hardest events to learn, I would say. So the challenge is out there, but, you know, give us a few years, maybe we'll see what we could do with you.
Yeah, hopefully we can get something done. But listen, Rob Ahrens here, Pacer Pride, champions again in the Atlantic East, and still with competition moving forward, and a fantastic opportunity for some more life to this when we continue on here with track and field, as well with cross country, and just realizing that at Marywood University, this is a year-round thing. And I don't think there's ever a day where Rob isn't doing something. He also is there in a pinch, and he is fantastic at watching your dog. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that Rob is good at. So Rob, with all due respect, I am so moved by what you have done. I didn't know you coming into this, and we got to meet through this multimedia marketing partnership. We had not crossed paths before. And I can say from the moment that I met you and sat down with you, for somebody that's won all these championships, it's such a unique thing, because you wouldn't know it unless you went to your office and you looked around the walls, because you don't approach life like that. You're never talking about yourself, and you're always giving credit to everybody else. So I am very honored that Marywood somehow found you and has kept you. And I think that, you know, this is not boosting your ego or trying to puff you up. I always speak the truth. I'm spoiled to have you at my alma mater, and I'm so thankful that we have someone that has the integrity and the work ethic and the responsibility and the care and the concern and just the humanity that you have, that goes along with the fact that you happen to also be a very successful coach.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. That's you know, just that's noticed is really special. And you know, just really thankful for this opportunity, and for everybody that's made it, you know, possible. So yeah.
That's Rob Ahrens right here with us. Pacer Pride. You can catch it every single week on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, typically here on Fridays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time to send us into the weekend. But you're getting a couple specials here this week. So happy to have Rob here. Congratulations to men's and women's track and field, as well as to cross country once again, and to all of the successes that are to come, hopefully, with some of these student athletes that are trying to continue on in different events. So Rob, as always, thank you for everything that you do, and we appreciate it very much. So
awesome. Thank you.